How's it going? I'm Jared Gillis. Welcome to another All About RVs. Today we're going to be doing a gadget or a gimmick. It's where we take a piece of RVing or camping gear and we try and see if it can live up to its marketing. So like with the aux blocks, I said you could beat it up with a sledgehammer, so we actually tested that out and tried it out. So today we got a couple of items and we're going to see if it can live up to its marketing. So it's no confession or a secret, especially if you've watched this channel, that I enjoy a good RV accessory, especially to the search engines that are out there. They know which ads to send my way. And a few months ago, I saw an ad for something that I thought was a gimmick, and I purchased it as kind of a gag that I was gonna make fun of, and it was even worse than I expected. It was a hatchet that's just so much of a gimmick. I mean, seriously, look at this thing. This thing is a tiny toy. I mean, it's hardly even a toy. It is so small. And when you go to swing it, I mean, it feels like the handle's gonna open it up, kind of releasing the pliers and the hammer, and then it has these other tools in the back that are just kind of floppy, and they just kind of wiggle inside of there. I mean, the thing is just literally a joke for RVing. I mean, if you try and use it, it's just not gonna do anything. It's gonna be more danger than it does any good. But the things that I'm looking at today, they have me questioning, is it a gimmick or is it a gadget? Because there might be some usefulness in there. So that thread of hopefulness that it might do something good, let's experiment and check it out for today. Okay, the first thing we're gonna look at today is this little tiny device. I've seen the ad like 20 times and I thought I finally need to figure out whether this is a gadget or a gimmick, because I thought it was a gimmick. So this is the Flex Tail. So it is this little tiny hanging rechargeable lantern that is also magnetic on the back, so you could use it as a light, and it is a blower, so you can use it to inflate things or use it as a blower. So they show you being able to drop it, and it's only about 4 feet is what they claim, so still works. And they also said that it's splash resistant, not like waterproof, but splash resistant. Still noisy, light's still working too. So they claim that this is for camping because it can inflate an inflatable air mattress. And so I don't have an inflatable air mattress, but I do have an inflatable kayak. And I wanna see how this little tiny pump will do trying to inflate something that you would actually use for RVing. So let's give it a try. So this little pump did come with some other attachments. So it has attachments if you're doing like an inflatable pull toy or something like that, but it has this one that looks like it'll fit exactly for this inflatable kayak. Okay, that first chamber took 2.5 minutes. I set a timer also because they said don't run it for longer than 10 minutes. I wasn't sure how long it's gonna take to fill this thing up. It's pretty noisy, but it did in about 2.5 minutes to fill up that first chamber. Let's do the second. Okay, so it did that, but let's see how it does with a couple of inner tubes if we wanted to do that too on the same charge of battery. So I think my wife just said it well. She said it is gimmicky, like it is a little gimmicky thing, but it's working. Like it actually inflated all 3 of these things. So I'm gonna flip it around because you can pull the air out. So that way, you know, when you go to pack these kind of things up, you never can seem to get the last of the air out. Well, this will work in reverse and we'll see if it'll pull the air out, kind of vacuum seal it so you can store it back in the RV a little bit better. But I'm wondering how it would do on the paddleboard. I can't imagine it actually working well to inflate a paddleboard. You wouldn't ever be able to get it up to like the full potential of the pressure that you needed in those because you need like 15 PSI. But I wonder if it would at least get you started in that process. Now, no stretch of the imagination did this actually air this thing up all the way, but it brought it to that initial air fill and then you can bring it up to 15 PSI. But I got to give props where props are due. It actually put air in this and it gave you a head start for being able to fill it up with the pump. It'll save your arms a little bit before you start paddling on the water. So there you go. I gotta say, so far it's living up to the claims that it has online. I will test the light when it gets a little bit darker. But the other thing we're gonna test today are these fire plugs. So you can make your own fire starters. I usually just use paper or something like that. But this claims to be waterproof, windproof, and a 5-minute burn. So even if you dunk it in water, it should be able to fire it up. So let's set up the fire pit and test these out. So with these, when you use them, you're supposed to bend them in half a little bit and kind of work those two ends together. I tore it apart more than I should have, but it still had no problems lighting up. So the Colorado company wasn't lying when they said they were waterproof, because I had it sitting in there for about 5 minutes. So kind of a fun little handy thing to keep around if you wanted to have an easy way to start the fire. I guess it's a mix of jet fuel and a wax blend to get it to burn for the 5+ minutes to start your fire. It's usually pretty easy to start a fire, but if you've ever had wet wood in hard conditions, sometimes something like this might come in really handy. Something so small. Okay, a couple of things we can test here. Number one, they said we can use this to be able to stoke the fire, to be able to use it as a blower to blow air into there and get the fire going. So it might work well in the beginning when you're trying to get everything lit and going. But if you're sitting around the campfire and it's a nice, enjoyable evening, nice and quiet, and you're enjoying it, who wants to listen to that would just be annoying. So maybe to get the fire going, but not in the process of enjoying the campfire. So overall, I'm pretty impressed. Everything is performed according to the marketing. I got only about 4.5 minutes on the fire plug just burning by itself, but you wouldn't just burn it by itself. So if you can't start a fire in that amount of time, then you need to go back to the drawing board. But this lived up to everything that we expected out of it. So it has a flashlight on here. You have 3 different modes, and it goes for 10 hours on the 40 lumens. I'm kind of guessing the lower setting is that. But then you go from crazy bright so that you could use that as a lantern or however you would like. So it is a little bit different type of an RV gear, but if you need to inflate something or you want a lantern to hang, it's a really small package. You can recharge it, and it has lived up to the marketing that it said it would do. Now, the longevity, we'll see how it does, but I am pretty impressed at how well that this has performed. So I think that's going to do it for today. I'll put links down in the description to these 2 little small items, this blower and flashlight and the fire plug. So just small, simple things for RVing that might make your life a little bit easier, and I'm surprised at how well they did perform. So like I said, that's going to do it for today. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos about RVing, hit that subscribe button. If we don't see you on the road, maybe we'll see you in the next video. I gotta tell you, I really didn't expect this to perform as good as it did, and this isn't sponsored. I mean, I bought this and I expected to actually kind of give it a hard time, but it did well.